How the rich use debt to get richer. If you've heard that the rich use debt to get richer, but you're not really sure how, then this video is for you. Today, I'm going to talk to you about the two different schools of thought on debt and whether it's right for you or not. If the rich actually do use debt to get richer and how they do that, and what investments are best suited for leverage using debt to build your wealth. Hi, I'm Charles Rashid. I've been investing in hotels and the real estate industry for over 30 years. And I've been able to amass over $100 million worth of real estate by using leverage, starting with nothing and leveraging myself and my business through debt to build my real estate business. And today, I'm going to tell you exactly how I did it and how you can do the same thing. But first, I want to talk to you about the two different schools of thought on debt and which one's right for you. So the first way I want to talk about is what I know best, and that's taking debt and using it as leverage to invest in real estate and build my business with more and more and more debt. It's kind of like the Donald Trump theory. The more debt you have, the more you grow. The second school of thought, and I have a number of friends that live this way, and I'm not saying there's a right way or a wrong way, but to build slowly out of cash flow. So save up, invest in an investment, either real estate or the stock market, and then save more, reinvest that income that you receive from your first investment and grow into the second one and third, using debt as little as possible to grow your business. And to me, it really depends on your risk tolerance. Are you the type of person that it doesn't bother to have a lot of debt? Or are you the type of person that's going to lose sleep if you have too much debt? So that's the first question you have to ask yourself is, are you comfortable with massive amounts of debt to accelerate and leverage your business to grow as fast as possible? If you are comfortable with that amount of debt, then this video is for you. So I want to take this time to ask you to comment below. What type of person are you? Do you have a lot of risk tolerance with debt, or do you not have any tolerance for debt? Would you rather grow fast with using a ton of debt and leverage, or would you rather grow slowly knowing you have no debt and not beholden to a bank or a lender? So put it in the comments below which you are, and I promise you I read each and every comment and I will respond to it. I'd like to know what your thoughts are. So the second question is, you've heard that the rich use debt to get richer. Can it actually be done? Well, let me tell you that yes, it can be done. I'm living proof that it can be done. You can borrow money when you're investing in stocks. It's called a margin. So you buy Facebook at $240 a share, and then you have a margin account that allows you to buy another, typically 50% or so of that stock on margin. So they're loaning you money, 50 cents on the dollar, to buy more of that stock. So that's one way to leverage your investments with debt. The problem is that can be very risky. What if the stock market crashes? Recently, Facebook dropped by 30% in a day. So people that had margins and had borrowed money to invest in Facebook probably got what's called a margin call. And what that means is your stock value has gone down and the amount that you have borrowed against is over that 50% threshold I just talked about, so you have to put money in. So debt can be risky and you have to take it with a grain of salt. You have to understand what you're doing when you invest with debt. The better way to invest with debt is real estate investing, and that's what I've done. And I'll walk you through quickly how I invest in real estate, how I use debt to leverage that, and how I'm able to grow exponentially because of that debt. So I like to buy single family homes that are foreclosures. I have 30 plus years experience in remodeling and investing in real estate and short-term rentals, long-term rentals, hotel industry, and every kind of aspect of real estate investing, from warehouses to commercial real estate to residential real estate, multifamily, single family. But my absolute favorite is single family. So I find a foreclosure, and typically I pay $50,000 or less for this property. I buy them from banks or from HUD or another government agency, Sallie Mae, Freddie Mac, West Virginia Housing Development Fund, whatever the case is, or Truist or a local bank. There's tons of ways to access this. I will do another video on how I find my repos and how I find off-market deals on real estate. So I buy this property for $50,000 or less for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath property. I fix it up myself. Now I use cash to start with my first investment. If you don't have the cash, then try to find a friend or an investor that has $50,000 that you can borrow and become a partner with him until you get rolling. And later in this video, you'll understand exactly how fast you can grow using this model that I use. But you need to start with cash. You can find a house for $10,000 or $15,000 and do the work yourself, and the same process will work. And you can also do it with a $100,000 or $200,000 or $500,000 house. But my model is I buy a $50,000 house, I fix it up, I stage it. So once I buy my foreclosure, I go in and assess what I need to do. So I typically paint the house. I make sure all the plumbing works. I make sure if it has appliances, they're working. Does the heating and cooling work? Is the roof leaking? And I make a list of every single thing that I need to do to make sure that the property is in rentable condition. That might include refinishing the floors or replacing the carpet. So once I fix all of those things, then I stage the property. I furnish this property, whether I'm going to rent it short term on Airbnb or I'm staging it to sell it. It doesn't matter to me. I'm going to assess it once I furnish the property and then determine what my long-term goal is, either renting it or selling it. Once I get that done, I typically rent it on Airbnb and I start getting a historical rent roll. So once it's ready to rent, after it's staged, I get historical rent revenue. So for 3 or 4 months, I'll start generating revenue. And typically in my market, Charleston, West Virginia, that's $3,000 to $4,000 a month in revenue. So after 4 months, I have that proven track record. I go to the bank and I ask them to refinance the property so I can pull some cash out. They hire an appraiser, and then the appraiser goes in and does their appraisal, and they use my rental income as part of the value of the property. And for easy math, I'm going to say this property will appraise for $200,000. 80% of $200,000 is $160,000. Let's assume that I put $80,000 into the property, $50,000 for the purchase and $30,000 for the renovations. I now can go to the bank and borrow 80% of $200,000, which is $160,000. Once I do that, I get my $80,000 original investment back, and I get an additional $80,000 that I'm pulling out in equity in my property. So now I have $160,000. And I go repeat this process. I can go buy 2 or 3 houses now with that same $80,000 I started with. And I duplicate the process over and over again. This is how the rich use debt to get richer. I'd like you to comment below if you think that this system makes sense, what I'm talking to you about using debt, buying houses, then refinancing them and reinvesting into more houses. Let me know your thoughts. Does it make sense to you? What are the obstacles that you see? Comment below. Also, take this time to subscribe to my channel. If you like this content, please subscribe. I appreciate every subscriber, and this is why I do these videos, is for you, to help you increase your wealth and invest in real estate. So the last thing that I want to talk to you about is when the rich use debt to get richer, there are also a number of absolutely unbelievable benefits that you get from this. In my earlier example, when I pulled out that $160,000, that is non-taxable income. It's not income. It is a loan. So I don't pay any tax on that $80,000 additional that I took out of my home or my business. And secondly, the IRS allows you to deduct your interest payments. So I'm paying interest on that $160,000. I'm allowed to reduce my taxable income by the amount of interest that I pay on my mortgages. And thirdly, I get to depreciate my property, which is an added way to reduce my taxable income in real estate investing. The government and the IRS says that if you have a house that's worth $200,000, you can depreciate the actual house. You don't depreciate the land, but you depreciate the house because the roof, the carpet, the paint, the fixtures, the plumbing, all those things have a finite lifespan. And I think the IRS allows you to depreciate that over 29 and a half years or 27 and a half years. Consult with your CPA to determine exactly what the depreciation is. I rely on my CPA to tell me what the depreciation value is, but there is a huge tax benefit to investing in real estate that you don't get in investing in the stock market. So the tax benefits. The other last thing is appreciation. They're not making any more property. So your house that was appraised at $200,000, in 5 or 10 years, someone else is making that payment. So you're not having to come out of pocket. You're getting additional cash flow. And on top of that, that payment that you're making every month, some of it goes to principal and some of it goes to interest. Principal reduction allows you to increase your equity in the property. So when you do sell, you owe that much less on your property, and that is money in your pocket. The appreciation part is over time, property values increase with inflation. In most markets, the average is probably 3%, 2 to 5% annually, your property is going to go up in value. So on a $200,000 example that I've used, a 3% inflation would increase the value of your home to $6,000 to $206,000. You multiply that out over a decade, that's $260,000+ is the new value of that house. These are all the benefits of real estate investing and why the rich use debt to get richer. As promised, I want to give you a free gift that'll help you accelerate your real estate investing business and teach you how to use debt to get richer, just like the rich do.